Awesome. This is really good. Happy Tuesday, Thursday. Today is April the 28th, 2024. And we are here in a session with Victor, Polkadot Ambassador, Nico and Alex from CF, Jack from Intersect, and Einstein, Governance Wizard and Magician. You prepared? This is one of the first workshops we host with uniFires, which is a funded proposal from Cardano's project Catalyst, where we have a group of Cardano and Polkadot ambassadors coming together and work on mainly three categories. And mostly to say, okay, how can we build knowledge across our ecosystems? Because there's a lot of stuff happening both ecosystems. Sometimes very much the same, yet we don't communicate stuff, nor failures, nor solutions. And ideally, by looking a little bit on some top priorities from both ecosystems, we want to define, and this is starting today then actually, some top priorities on governance across different, let's say, camps in this regard within the ecosystem and across the ecosystems. What we want to do with these topics, ideally, we listen to you guys. What would be the most awesome is if you can present a little bit from your very own perspective, what are top priorities on governance for you, ideally with a short rationale. We don't want to go too deep, but what we mainly do is listening to you guys, noting down the whole thing, then repeating maybe the same thing with the Polkadot ecosystem, and by this define our top priorities for the workshops, which come then in the 3 months, which follow then. Yep. Did I miss something? Any questions on this? There you are back, Victor. Nice.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good for me.
Awesome. Then what do you guys think? Is it okay if you go just once ever first, actually, and just outline top priorities on governance for you? And ideally with a short rationale, which explains a little bit, okay, what's your context or background on the thing?
Yeah, I can go first. So I'm Jack. I think a few of you know me. I am working at Intersect, and sort of the main focus this year for Intersect is the rollout of the hard forks for the two upgrades that are going to bring on-chain decision-making and all the functionalities as described in SIP 694, bringing those on-chain, which is huge, massive piece of work, lots of changes to the network coming. And I know most of you on the call here are very well versed with those changes that are coming down the line and actively engaging in all of that stuff. So that's a big focus for me and the team. And the other really interesting focus around governance from sort of looking further ahead, so beyond this year and beyond the hard fork and the upgrades, is a concept of a budget, of a 2025 Cardano budget that will utilize the treasury in its full capacity. And what I mean by full capacity is not using all of the money in the treasury necessarily, unless the community want to, of course, but it's utilizing the treasury beyond Catalyst. So Catalyst has been the only recipient of treasury funding to date, and that will change with on-chain voting and all the features that come with that. So the idea of having a 2025 budget for Cardano that maybe includes Catalyst funding, maybe includes 10 different things to develop that the community want to see, that's really exciting. So that building that process out and working with Intersect members to come up with a strong budget that we then put to the community to vote on chain will be super exciting. So that'll be a first. And then of course the constitution as well, that's like happening in parallel. So we've got the hard fork stuff, got the 2025 budget, and then the Cardano constitution will be rolling out over 2024 as well in a consultation period. So that's going to be massive. Like 2024 is such a huge year, really, and next year I think actually it's going to carry on. Anyway, that's me.
Oh, nice. That's good. And one thing more maybe to add. Major challenge. What is, from your perspective, major challenge on governance?
There's a few major challenges, I think.
Yes.
I think for me, the major challenge is engagement, actually. It's participation, it's people understanding what is happening. and not in a sort of scary way, like, oh, I don't understand it, I don't know how to do something around it. It's more a case of people grasping the concepts, grasping the functionality. So actually, what are a general ADA holder that's maybe relatively passive? What does it mean to you that this new functionality is coming on chain? And what does the constitution mean to you, right, as a general passive ADA holder? Those stories and that connection needs to be better told, I think. And we're so deep in the weeds of the technology and how it's going to interact and the thresholds and the parameters and some really, I mean, for me, really interesting topics. But for 99% of the Cardano community, and I think probably just blockchainers overall, governance isn't necessarily sexy. It never has been sexy. I like it. I think we all like it on the call here. But it's, for me, that's the biggest challenge, really. It's driving participation, engagement, making people feel like it's important. And it is important because it doesn't really shape the way we look at Cardano as a chain of choice or as a partner to build with. You look at governance and say, well, how good is, how not, does the governance have a decent amount of longevity to it? Is it sustainable? Is it secure? Is it stable? All that kind of key benchmarks that you want to have in a healthy governance system. Outsiders to Cardano or even blockchainers overall will be looking for good governance models and systems in place. And so that's where I think people do need to get really interested in and excited about it. But we've got a story to tell beyond the technology, and that's a challenge. Yeah.
Much agree. Yep. Beautiful. That's a lot of good stuff already, Jack. Thanks a lot for this. Actually, Victor, would you like to go next actually, on Polkadot side? Tell us.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Felix. So one thing what I would like to say before that, my name is Victor. Yeah, and I'm a Polkadot ambassador. And regarding the governance mechanism of Polkadot, it's like in the real life, it's probably one of the complex thing built into Polkadot, but not because of the technology, but because mainly because of the social interaction between the participants of the network. So, and of course, there is a technological side, but I would like to jump back to 2020 when Polkadot started with the Genesis block. And there was a 1.0 governance mechanism, which was relatively centralized because there was a technical committee, and it was just in the technical committee there was 20-ish people, mainly parity employee and other employee from the broader ecosystem, and they have the privilege to vote on the proposals. And there was only just one proposal per, I'm not sure per era, per month or per week. I don't know. I'm not very involved in the governance system at that time. But the Parity is Parity is the company behind Polkadot, Parity Technologies. But nowadays they want to go background, and in the future they will also want to disappear the company. And later on, only the network as a decentralized protocol will evolve over time without any central authority behind it. But let's jump back. So there was governance one, and there was a technical committee, and then the whole protocol, the blockchain evolved over time. And last year, 2023 summer, this 1.0 version upgraded to 2.0, which is the name of this version of governance model is OpenGov, aka Open Governance, which is open to everybody who has dots, only just one dot. So currently, it's, in my opinion, it's one of the most sophisticated decentralized governance mechanism built into the protocol level, and everybody who has dots can participate in the decision-making process. And yeah, there is a lot of main problems in general, the governance in our real life too, the participation rate, and maybe the meritocracy, which is who should be trusted with from a lot of people. So yeah, and Polkadot is built on the foundation of liquid democracy and meritocracy in very short. But of course, we can broaden it and we can deep dive it. I don't know, Felix, is this the time where I can broaden it? I'm free to introduce you about this process. But of course, there is a lot of people in the chat. So if this time to speak out, to give the mic to other people, I can.
I think it's cool maybe to do a little deep dive on this.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe we can, because there's a lot of similarity between Polkadot and Cardano, right? And
yeah.
Mhm.
Hey, thanks. So yeah, and I'm glad Cardano also want to how can I say evolve the governance mechanism. As far as I know, it's the phase of the Walter. So there is a phase which is focusing on governance improvement, and in Cardano, this is the phase. The phase name is Walter, and I really like it. With Felix, we also discussed it, and in my opinion, I'm not sure how real looks like the Walter, after Cardano after the Walter phase, but we will compare it and want to establish some framework how the both ecosystem can improve each other's governance model based on the fundamental architecture of the two ecosystem. But let's back to Polkadot side. So I said it's liquid democracy and meritocracy. Why is it liquid? Because everybody has some dots on the Polkadot protocol. Who has some dots have voting power, and these people, of course, doesn't have most of the people doesn't have a time and effort and knowledge to understand the changes, how to improve the protocol. Yes.
Just quick heads up, Victor. The people here, they are hardcore in governance. They are really experts. So when you use terms like democracy or whatnot, they know very well.
Yeah. I see. Sorry.
You can go hard with them.
Okay. So liquid democracy, in very short, if I have some dots, but I have no time or effort, I can give my voting power to other people, but not my dot. So this is not works like I send my dots to another address. This is just a new type of transaction where I just put my voting power to another people address. Then that person, or maybe a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, like in a multi-sig or in a collective, can use my voting power. So this is why is it liquid. And other thing, if I'm not satisfied with this person's or this DAO's work in the governance mechanism, I have a right to anytime give back to me my voting power. So this is a much more liquid version of democracy than the representative democracy. And why is it meritocratic? Because who is the best person to trust my dots, my voting power. And of course, there is a lot of person, there is hundreds or thousands of 10,000s of people, and later on there will be millions. I hope there will be billions of people who have some dots. And of course, one of the people are not very familiar about this system, about the whole process, about the whole decision making, or a lot of people doesn't want to do such like things like governance. And there are a lot of people who are very understand these systems, and they just popping up from the masses. And these people will be the best persons and the best groups who can represent my vote. So Polkadot governance systems built upon these philosophical and politological structures like delegation and meritocracy, because I can delegate to my voting power to people who are the best in my opinion. And if I'm not satisfied, I can delegate to Felix or anybody else who have my trust. Yeah, but so this is the very fundamentals. And there is, yeah, Felix? Yeah, okay, I thought you just hands up. And
Shaq has his hands up. Please go for it.
Yeah, I actually have a hand up. Have you found, Vic, any with the meritocracy? Because I agree with you. I think ultimately we see that today, like even with representative democracy now, how many of us here regularly read the bills that go through Parliament or Congress, the actual legal bills? Like, I've read a couple. I've read the Brexit one because it was important to me, but I don't read most because you don't have the time, and you have to delegate that power out. The best thing about liquid democracy, as you say, is it's fluid, and if you don't like your representatives, you can change them very quickly, very easily. But my question is, in the 8 months that you've had delegation or so running, as Felix has put, have you found that there's been a core group of people that have sort of not retained power? I don't mean it like that, but are the biggest decision makers, and they're the same people? Have you found that?
So you ask, is there some specific member or a group of members who have much more power than the other people?
Not so much from DOT, but from influence, like technical ability or just, sway with the community. Let's say you've got 20 people, it's always the same 20 people type thing. Is that true, or are you seeing something different?
In my opinion, it's different. So everybody who has some knowledge and they want to, and if they are open to get some delegation, everybody can delegate voting power to them. So, and of course, if there is, I don't know, 5 people who has, and only 5 people who has good knowledge and people trust them, people can delegate to them. But of course, there is not 5 people, there is hundreds of people, and in the future there will be thousands or 10,000s of people who can really understand how these things works. And there is a lot of whales who also delegate the voting power to these natural persons who have just who are not rich, who are not I don't know very so these people are very basic people who have just a passion and understanding to use these systems. And this is really nice because these, of course, on Polkadot, there are whales. Every protocol has some whales. And dot whales are very agile and very friendly because there is some whales who want to use their voting power to influence the network in a good direction, because by why they does it, because the good direction represents the best for them too, because they have the bunch of dots. This is why they are not behaving maliciously or badly, because if they, their dots will be decreased in value. So the thing is, there is no central authority behind Polkadot and in the protocol level too. Of course, there are whales, but these whales want to kick and push the Polkadot network towards for the bright future, and they does it. And of course, there are whales who doesn't have some interest in the protocol, and they have the chance, and they do that delegation to other people who have some much more passion and time to represent them in the governance system. And this is meritocracy. In my opinion, this is very nice, and it works very fine. And good decisions made in the past.
Nico, you have your hands up.
Yeah, thanks, first of all, Vic, for the explanations. And I think it's great that we get some additional insights. And my question, maybe you will not have an answer for, because it's more about the Web3 Foundation. And I think they got like quite a bit of dot in the initial token allocation, right?
Yes.
How do they act or vote? Do they delegate everything, or do they?
In the past, so everything is transparent. So if we just find the Web3 Foundation Polkadot address, we can see the whole history, what happened with these dots. I didn't check it, but as far as I know, they used them dots only to nominate their stake to the validators. But this is completely a new subsystem of Polkadot. So there is some systems, some protocols where the validators have only the chance to vote on proposals. I'm not sure, but maybe Cosmos works like this. But I'm not sure. Cosmos.
But one interesting on this, though, Vic, is, for example, that there was lately quite a, let's say, interesting scenario in Polkadot. Is in Polkadot you have Giotto. Giotto, also called the first executive whale of the Polkadot ecosystem. So really a massive whale with a very strong social presence, right? Very strong ideas.
Yeah.
And actually in a position to really, let's say, influence any outcomes really massively in this regard. And what is really interesting, some months ago, Web3 Foundation then in this regard stepped up, right? And they launched the centralized voices. What they did is actually they took 7 Polkadot OGs receive a delegation from the Web3 Foundation to vote in Polkadot. So the foundation supports their own DREPs actually in this regard, if you would translate it to Cardano. What is interesting is the amount they delegated matches very much the same amount of this very dominant whale, right? And we saw already, okay, one individual definitely was in the position to drive very strong agendas, also because he has a quite strong social credit in this regard. And even if not voting, can influence only through tweets or whatnot, quite a conversation around referendums or proposals there. And this is something what I think is so valuable to see, because this is coming to us, right? We will see this happening on Cardano. And to see, okay, how is it actually playing out there? And how does the Polkadot ecosystem respond to this, right? This is very interesting as well.
Yeah, in my opinion, the Polkadot, it's one of the most interesting social experiments currently. So yeah, so this is really true. So in very short, but I just wanted to say, Web3 Foundation, of course, they have lots of dots. And in the past, they only used this allocation to stake it behind the validators. But it's not the same as the governance system. And 1 month ago, like Felix said, they delegated this amount of dots, the voting power, to eight, I think eight very trustworthy person, like Polkadotters, Jimmy Tedeschi, and so on. And each of them get 1 million dot with 6x conviction. So it's the weight of the voting power is 6 million dot. And of course, they can
Victor?
Yeah.
Can I drop a quick note on conviction voting? In Polkadot, actually, you can vote and you can lock your tokens to increase the weight of your voting power. Let's say, for example, I can lock for, I think the maximum is 200 something days, which will increase my voting power.
Yeah.
10 times, but the tokens will be locked. I won't be able to use them until this time period. This just a note.
That is, you said I should list 4 different topics inside the governance system. The conviction voting is my second. So yeah, in very short, conviction voting is how, if I have just 1 dot and I vote on a proposal, I have the chance to weight it in 1x, 2x, 3x to 6x. Yeah, but in the other hand, if I choose the 6x conviction, my dot will be logged by the system. I think, 270 days, so nearly 1 year. Yeah, it's a long period of time. There is some hands up from Einstein and Nicholas.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think Nicholas was before me, but let's go in order.
Sure. Just a quick question or follow-up regarding Web3 Foundation, Parity, or any other, I don't know how you would call it, like a big entity in Polkadot. Are they actively participating as a governance representative, or I mean, I guess some members of Parity or Web3 Foundation are part of the, it's not council anymore, there's a different name for that, right? But are they like proposing their own changes or their own initiatives, or are they more like just delegating like the Web3 Foundation?
Yeah. So okay. So that there are official Polkadot addresses with some dots, and it belongs to Web3 Foundation, I think. But in my opinion, as far as I know, Parity doesn't have Polkadot address, an official Polkadot address. But of course, Parity employees have some dots, of course. And I'm not a Parity member. And as far as I know, there is no strict rules how they can vote or anything, because these are persons, individuals' addresses, and Parity or anybody in the Polkadot network doesn't want to influence these individuals. So there is no rules how to vote. People can vote whatever they want.
Okay, I also have a few questions, and please, if it's too much questions, like we can also share a bit about Cardano as well. But this is really like nice to learn. I'm curious about 2 aspects. One is like ethical rules on liquid democracy. Could you, for example, sell your vote to someone and promise you will delegate to them, and like have a sort of a water market where you pay me this amount of dot and I will delegate to you? Are there any penalties on Polkadot voting if you misbehave in some form of standard to the community? I briefly skimmed something about slushing, but I'm really curious about how you guys handle like community standards and how you enforce them.
What was your first question before slashing?
Yeah, so ethical rules on liquid democracy. Could you, for example, have voter markets on Polkadot?
Yeah,
Sell
okay.
your vote.
So watermark, okay, yeah, there was some very interesting proposals, like, yeah, I think it was proposed by Giotto, the dot whale. They created a proposal, please vote with an I on this specific proposal, and all the I voters will get X dots from them, from her, yeah, from him. But I'm not sure if it's ghost. I think it's rejected. So yeah, there are some ethical rules, but these ethical rules are based in people's head. On the protocol level, in the code, there are no restrictions because the technology, the blockchain, cannot understand what is the people's mind. So, and this is very complex. So, regarding the slashing, if you vote, there is no slashing. If you vote with an I or with an I on any type of proposals, there will be no slashing. But if you are creating a malicious proposal, or is it a scam proposal? If, like, I don't know, so somebody wants to get some dot for, I don't know, for bullshit stuff. There is another type of proposal which we call referendum killer. And if that referendum killer executed with an I, and in this referendum killer proposal, we highlighted we want to kill that specific malicious proposal, it will be killed by the protocol, and the malicious proposer initially have to deposit some dot. So we can imagine like this: if we want something, first we have to deposit something, and there are different type of the different amount of dot should be deposited for different amount of funding. So if I want to get 1 million dot, I'm not sure, we can see it on chain, but I think I have to deposit 10,000 dot. If I want only just 10,000 dot, I have to just deposit 100 dot. So this is the skin in the game. Yeah, this is the word. So how many skin in the game have I? If I want something, I have to deposit. And if it's malicious, my proposal, there is some chance to kill that proposal. And if the referendum killer proposal is executed, the whole blockchain logic will slash my deposited amount and send it to the treasury. Yeah, so this is, and in the past there was 2 or 3 referendum killer. There was some for 1 or 2 scammers, and yeah, the scammers lost their tokens, and this happenings because these scammers doesn't have a clue what's happening on chain when they want to cheat on the system. Yeah, so in long story short, there is slashing and there is ethical rules, but the blockchain cannot understand the ethical rules because it's just the code. So we as humans have the chance to influence the network. Yeah.
This is super interesting, Vic. So I've just been listening, taking notes. Some stuff I knew, some stuff I didn't know, because I really always look at Polkadot as like a best in class in terms of blockchain governance that's live right now. And my role at the foundation is as sustainability lead. So I look at the whole blockchain for good side of stuff, but then I also think about, okay, how can the blockchain be sustainable? AKA, how can it, at the very least, deliver the kinds of services that it is delivering currently in future? And there are two things that kind of come to mind when I think about that question. One is, how do you prevent malicious technical proposals that could potentially completely, destroy the blockchain and its capability to render these services? Because I think one of the key parts of the trilemma, the scaling trilemma for Cardano, and I don't want to speak for the ecosystem, but for myself, is security first. And how do you manage that? And secondly, we have treasuries and things like that on Cardano. Obviously we have a big amount of money there, and there's this view of, okay, we need to do a lot right now. We need to scale, we need to be more interoperable, we need this, we need that. How do you balance fiscal prudence on Polkadot? Because I've seen like a huge influx of influencers leveraging that to kind of just get paid, and then they just stick a little bit of Polkadot in their content, and that's it, right? And then maybe a third question, but it just escapes me, so I'll get back to you on that one.
My turn. Okay, so you asked what happened with the malicious technical proposal who are changed the logic of the blockchain. So first, I would like to shortly introduce you the runtime upgrade. So on Polkadot, some occasionally we update the validator's software, which we called Polkadot host. But these validators just executing the blockchain logic, which we call it runtime. So if we want to change the logic how the blockchain works, it's so kind of refreshing the code. We have to propose a runtime upgrade, and if it's executed, the runtime change itself, so the blockchain on Polkadot and all the substrate chain have so all the substrate chains can upgrade itself. Yes, so you should understand that specific task before we go how we decide the on-chain logic. And of course, there is in my last answer, I introduced you. There are some different tracks, and if I want to get some dots, I have to deposit some dots, of course. But if I want to change if I want to change the code of the blockchain, I have to deposit also some dots. And the root referenda is the highest important, the most important referenda in the governance system. And I'm not sure, but one moment. Oh, I don't want to in real time, but the root referenda, as far as I know, need 1 million dot to be deposited if we want to change it. 1 million dot. And if it's malicious, it can be slashed. That's another thing. And there is one thing. There is a collective, which is kind of DAO built into the system, but it's much more complex and sophisticated. So the technical committee, not the technical committee, because it's old, it's rejected. So there is a technical fellowship currently. It's a lot of Polkadot addresses, and each address behind each address there is a lot of OG coders who code the Polkadot relay chain's runtime. And this is a rank-based system, rank-based fellowship. from 1 up to 9 rank, and each person have a different rank based on its competence, and these people can upvote and downvote each other's over time. If somebody very good and delivering nice codes, sophisticated codes, frequently, they can evolve over time from 6 rank to 7, and 7 to 8, and so on. But if they are not very competent, they can also decreasing in ranks. And these specific addresses, these persons who are in the fellowship, they only can elect anybody from the all over the world. From maybe if you want to join to this collective, you can. If I want to join to this collective, I can. But of course, I'm not a coder, so I won't, because only the coders and only the competent people can invited by the fellowship members to this collective fellowship. And the fun fact is, what I want to say, only these accounts have the right to propose root level referendums. And they can access to the Polkadot Fellowship GitHub repository too, because the on-chain identities of each addresses connected to the to the GitHub names of the fellowship, of the Polkadot Relay Chain Fellowship's GitHub repository. So at Polkadot, against malicious actors, we are attacking, or we are defeating these attack vectors on social level. One social level is this collective fellowship, and one is the deposit, which is the skin in the game. Yeah, in very short. But I recommend you to go to the Polkadot wiki side, and there is open gov section and fellowship section, and you can read all the stuff. It's very up to date and very nice, very well written.
Check, and then Alex.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on something that Alex mentioned as well around the ethical side of things, some of it being on-chain at Cardano in the form of the Constitution. And the Constitution is a interpreted document, right? So we know that we're going to draft that this year with the community. But parts of the Constitution will be guardrails that have parameters and a range of parameter settings. So, for example, you can't change the block size to be 1 gigabyte. You just can't do it. Even if you try to, it'd be rejected automatically on chain. So before the Constitutional Committee, you can even vote on something like that, it would just be rejected. And so there's those components which can stop attacks, essentially, or silly ideas automatically without even needing to debate them. And then this idea that you can have a group of a bit like the technical fellowship, sort of Polkadot Fellows idea, that you have a group of members on the CC, on the Constitutional Committee, that can interpret proposals from the perspective of whether or not it's constitutional or not. And the constitutional being a document that everyone's agreed on and voted on chain is quite interesting. I was looking at thanks for sharing that link, Felix. It's a really interesting document. I haven't seen it before. There's lots of comparisons there with sort of guides and being able to help people understand the different roles people will take. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that, Alex. You sort of reminded me about the stuff that we're doing around protecting for malicious behavior or strange proposals, like for the Treasury to take 10 million ADA out of the Treasury to buy a Lamborghini dealership. Right? We're not going to approve that, or we hope not to approve that. but how does the constitutionality impact those decisions as well as just people voting for it? Yeah.
I have like one additional question. This is the one that escaped me. So on Cardano, typically we've had positive incentives rather than negative incentives when it comes to governance, and specifically positive economic incentives. So when you look at network governance, stake pool operators and delegators are incentivized to behave to the best benefit of the network by virtue of receiving staking rewards and optimizing towards that. And then when you look at Catalyst, which is like a prototypical version of treasury dispersals, their voters, community reviewers, people that contribute to, let's say, the voting and the bureaucracy of this treasury disbursement have been financially incentivized. Now, to the extent that that is what motivates them, that is based on a pure assumption. In the Polkadot ecosystem, do you, for voters and things like that, is there positive economic incentive for people to vote? Because this has been a discussion as well within our ecosystem for delegate representatives and others. So the view that delegate representatives should receive some economic reward for doing the work, or that people that do not participate, do not bring their ADA into participation in governance should be penalized for it to some extent. But these haven't been acted. These are just conversations that are happening in the community that I've noticed.
Yeah, okay. So there is no negative punishment, only slashing if it's if the proposal is malicious, and there is no good incentivization of so yeah, the answer is really short. There is no incentivization for the voters with money, with DOT, but in my opinion, all the DOT holders should vote, because if they own DOT, they want that the value of the token will increase, and if they want that, the increase in value, they have to vote on good stuff, good marketing directions, good technological shifts, good everything. So the whole incentivization behind the protocol, behind the governance, is to make nice, good decisions, but no incentivization in money.
Nice. Then some last question, but also we are coming close to time already. Oh my God, it is fine. But Jack and Einstein, go for it.
Oh, okay. I'll try to be quick then. So my 5 things I'm really interested in is like power checks and balances, because in Cardano we have like a tri-party system with SPOs, Constitutional Committee, and DREPs. Knowledge transfer, because we also have this meritocracy problem, and we need to make sure that it's not only a small group of people who have the expertise. And one topic I would like to make a question about is inclusivity, because we are experimenting with different voting methods. We don't only use like one coin, one vote. For example, in Catalyst, one over the treasury disperse system where we give out grants, we have recently had like a one wallet, one vote. And I have to say, like from Polkadot, like what you expressed with like voter intent and being able to express your intent strongly, that's really cool to see. But my question is like, do you experiment with like voting methods that would increase inclusivity, like to have more people who not currently own a lot of DOT? Because I think this is one of the keys for like mass adoption, is like to identify where you need to vote with one coin, one vote to ensure the security of the protocol, and where can you have voting and other voting methods where you are able to reach new people to use governance much faster and better than they could before, like where blockchain then serves a purpose. And that leads me to the final, like important to me, is like these ecosystem processes and upgrade processes. And it's so cool to see that Polkadot has been through a governance upgrade from version 1 to 2. And I hope that we can discuss in the future like some knowledge transfer on that. So we are as well, because I think honestly, the first version of the SIP 1624, it's there as a bare bones, and it's there to make sure that we are able to start this governance process. And finally, I am a bit also thinking that we blockchains can collaborate together. Like I see a future where we have this like network state where we have like, we talked about constitution, but where you have like citizenship and rights in a global blockchain community. And maybe that's something we could share together with Polkadot community in the future. Oh, sorry, that was a lot in one, but the main question was about inclusivity and like experimenting with different voting methods.
Yeah. So there was an experimental voting 2 years ago when the whole Polkadot brand is changed. And I think that was the first truly open vote. Because there was an old logo, which was very similar to Pinterest, maybe, or I don't know. And the marketing brand guys are just want to change the logo and the new brand. And actually that at this time, the whole Polkadot community have the chance to vote on the new direction, marketing and brand directions. And there was a vote where the voting power of the tokens decreased in value, in voting power, if so the higher the DOT tokens in number, the lower the voting power. How can I say that in politology? This the quadras.
Quadratic voting.
Quadratic, yeah. So that was quadratic voting. And I think that was the first experiment of quadratic voting on Polkadot. But Parity and the core OG developers behind Polkadot decided to not implement quadratic voting on the current governance mechanism, because there is no system currently which can guarantee that behind that Polkadot address there is only just one community member, and there is no guarantee that member have no other Polkadot addresses. And quadratic voting is only works in systems where we can, or a system can guarantee there is one person with one Polkadot address. So that was an experiment 2 years ago, and they decided to go to this liquid democracy based on meritocracy, where one dot is one voting power, and the people can influence the network with convictions and delegations. And of course, in the future, there will be not just the technical fellowship, there will be ambassador fellowships. I'm a Polkadot ambassador, so I hope my Polkadot address will have an access to a Polkadot ambassador collective. And in the future, there will be a lot of other collectives, maybe collectives for the parachain technical guys, of course, and the developers of the parachains, of the blockchains top on the Polkadot relay chains. And there will be a lot of other technical other committees. So there is it's an experience. So in the future, of course, the whole governance mechanism can be changed to a new one based on governance decision making. So this whole process is just half a year old. It's very pretty new, and this whole experiment is continuously evolving and changing over time. And in my opinion, not the perfect, not the best, because democracy in some context is not the best, but maybe the best from the others. So yeah, we can change it if we want for our needs.
Good. And Jack and Nico, really quickly. Go for it, guys.
Oh, sorry, I lowered my hand actually. That was from before.
Yeah, really quick, right? I think we drifted a lot from what we actually wanted to do with like stating challenges that we want to address. But I think it's completely fine, and it's amazing to learn that much about Polkadot. And I think maybe to close, or what do we really want to achieve, or what do we not want to achieve? Maybe that's a good way to start this, right? Especially in Cardano. What we want to achieve is that we want an informed community that is equipped with the tools to manage the future of Cardano, basically, right? So they are capable of taking over from, the Genesis entities. And then what do we not want is that once we are done with the bootstrap phase, we have decentralized governance on chain, is that the community is not ready and they come again to the entities and are just relying on them, and basically nothing changes, right? And also I don't see it as a solution that we change from a dependency of IOG, CF, Emergo to a dependency on Intersect. I would also say that's a failure. So yeah, that's where I would leave it at. The biggest challenge of all. How do we solve that is, maybe something interesting we can think about.
Mm-hmm. And ideally this is something where in this regard uniFires can play a nice role in this. Like this was the first of our workshops. And actually, true, we went quite off topic, though from where the conversation went, was able to capture some really, really good topics where we see already, oh, okay, we can really highlight on. Anyway, for the report, I would send stuff back to everybody as well, just to keep you in the loop on everything. And maybe also reaching out to you with some questions to ask you, how would you like to maybe see to collaborate in further workshops? Because ideally this brings value. Like, honestly, there's so many things in so many ecosystems, and we don't have yet capacity and places to really gather knowledge, learn from each other, and to say, oh, cool, what is there actually happening there? So ideally, this is a sparking moment for this. Thanks a lot, everybody, for taking our time. This was pretty awesome. And that's it, I would say. Victor.
And do not forget to jump into uniFires Discord, because if you have questions regarding this, I can introduce you or just send some links. Yeah, so come to our Discord.
True. Actually, really good.
Thanks all.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you so much.
Discord.
That was awesome, Vic. Really cool to meet you.
Yeah, good to be here. Bye.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
See you around.
See you.
Thanks.
We can stay there.
Hmm?
Is it recording?
Wait. Let's stop the recording. This is